Hello again, guys, it is iFreeze700. We are back with some Mass Effect lore. This time, what the fuck are the human Dreadnoughts? Now, the human Dreadnoughts are a very interesting thing indeed. You see, Dreadnoughts tend to take the name of mountains on Earth. The main class that we actually have two classes here, which is really nice in Mass Effect lore that they actually do that, where they show there's different classifications of a Dreadnought, not just one. This is very realistic, considering that in today's day and age, you wouldn't use just one type of ship. You would use different classes of ship for different roles in different combat situations. Like today, we have many different versions of helicopters, and it's because some helicopters are gun ships, some helicopters are meant specifically for deployment, and these helicopters fulfill different roles. Some are a mix match between, but you're not going to use one helicopter for everything. So in Mass Effect, they've done a very good job illustrating there are two types of Dreadnoughts as of now, because the Systems Alliance is still a new race. They're still a new faction in Mass Effect. So they haven't developed a large amount of types of Dreadnoughts like the Asari, but they do have these two types, which would be the Mount Everest class and the Kilimanjaro class. Now, there's two big differences between the two, and their tactics are different entirely. So we're going to go over that. The very first Dreadnought that humanity ever designed would be the Everest, the Mount Everest Dreadnought, which is what the whole class is named after, is the Everest class. It is 888 meters long, almost a kilometer, and its main gun is about 80% of its size. It's pretty large. It's a really large gun indeed. And the whole point of the gun is that you're going to be launching massive slugs at the enemy. Now, these slugs are roughly around 38 kilotons of TNT, which is about 3 times larger than the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima, as the game describes it. Now, the nice thing about this gun is that you're going to be using this to snipe targets. You're going to be using it to hit hard. The crew is around 2,000. It takes quite a bit of men just to engineer the damn thing and make sure it runs efficiently. Now, the whole battle tactic behind the Mount Everest class Dreadnoughts and, well, the Everest class ship itself is mostly for sniping and artillery barraging. Now, it may sound weird, artillery barraging in space, but what it's going to be is, this is why you'll see drill sergeants instructing the Marines very thoroughly about waiting for the computers to line up the shot, waiting for the machine to calculate a good trajectory. And that's because in the Systems Alliance, they do rely on a lot of AI programming. I shouldn't say AI particularly, it's more like just VI. Rogue programs are just simply programmed into the computer that will calculate trajectories for you, so all you gotta do is press the button. This is very useful for the Everest class because their main battle role is to be behind your supporting lines of ships, whether it's cruisers, frigates, whatever. And you're going to be sitting behind them, lobbing these deadly shots that are pretty much incapacitating enemy cruisers, frigates, even other dreadnoughts are going to get hit pretty damn hard by this gun. So the whole point of the Everest class is to sit behind and just keep sniping them. Boom, boom, boom. You're not going to be spraying, going crazy gun-ho knife fights. You're most likely going to be staying back with your MAC rounds and just dishing out damage from a long distance. Except that damage is going to be only lessened by your rate of fire and also by the accuracy. Because if you're shooting at someone that's very maneuverable, like an Asari cruiser, which is very fast, it may be a cruiser, so it's one step below a dreadnought, but that damn thing's fast like a frigate, so you gotta really line up those trajectories. You better have really good sophisticated programming in your computers, so that way your engineers and your gunners can line up their shots and do the most maximum damage possible with the Everest class. Knife fighting is very rare in Mass Effect, so that's why you're not going to hear me talk about, ramming the ships. No, that's a death sentence for everybody. Now, the next class we're going to talk about is the Kilimanjaro. I like the name Kilimanjaro. It just sounds deadly as shit. Now, the Kilimanjaro class is actually a newer design. It's very recent. Now, the nice thing about the Kilimanjaro class is that it's more meant for high rates of fire, Because the big drawback to the Everest class is that it doesn't have a lot of rate of fire. So if you're getting swarmed by a lot of frigates, a lot of cruisers, you're going to need a lot more guns. You're going to need a lot more firepower. You're not going to need just this one mega cannon. That's great, but that's only great against enemies who have a lot of dreadnoughts, like the Turians, and enemies that are particularly slow, like Krogans. So, when it comes to the Kilimanjaro class, it's kind of the answer to this problem. What the Kilimanjaro has is around, I would say, a kilometer long, and it's got a lot of guns. A lot of guns. It has around, I'm not joking, 156 broadside Mac cannons, which means around 78 cannons on each side. Each of these cannons is around 40% of the length of the ship's width. So if you look how wide the ship is, and you cut that in half and then slightly less than half, that's around how long those cannons are. It's pretty damn big. And there is 78 of these on each side. The whole point of the Kilimanjaro is to broadside people, as its design is shown. But something that's very interesting about it is that it provides a large amount of firepower. The whole point between this is not to do a lot of damage in a singular shot, but to do a lot of damage in a huge volley of shots. Now, there's a few tactics you can use with the Kilimanjaro. The Kilimanjaro can be used in knife fighting. After all, the guns are on the broadside instead of, it's on the sides instead of in the front. But something else that you can use the ship for is you can use the ship to do a scatter shot. So kind of like a shotgun. When you use a shotgun to hunt ducks, it's not because the shotgun's so accurate. No, you're shooting it because it covers a large area of land, and it can hit the most amount of targets. It may not kill all those targets. You may just hit the duck in the feet, but you're going to do some damage nonetheless. And with the Kilimanjaro, it can do that. It can just simply turn onto its side and just blast the general vicinity that the enemy is sitting in. This is actually very good for providing a lot of suppression and providing a lot of damage to the enemy. It may not hurt them as much as the Everest. Hell, it may not even hurt them as much as some cruisers. But this sheer amounts of volleys of just guns and cannons blasting them is going to provide enough maneuverability for the other ships in the fleet to get around and do their damage. This is the whole main point of the Kilimanjaro, is to provide not only excellent knife fighting capabilities, but to also provide a huge distraction to the enemy. It's kind of hard to move your fighters and to move your frigates when they're just getting blasted by this huge ship with all of its cannons. You're going to start focusing the thing, and while you're focusing it, he's going to be maneuvering his frigates and his cruisers above you, below you, to the sides of you. After all, this is space. It's not just singular 2D warfare where it's just forward, side, and back. No. This is space. We're having 3D combat. I'm going to be coming down from below you. I'm going to be coming down from above you. I'm going to be coming down from the side of you. I can come at you from a lot of angles. So with the Kilimanjaro being this excellent distraction that it is, it would be a ship that I would expect to have a more frontline role in the fleet design and tactics of it. After all, it is very nasty if it's in a knife fight. Now let's get to the brass numbers, shall we? Now, Mass Effect 3, I would say, because that's the last Mass Effect we left off in, the humans had around 9 Dreadnoughts, and that's pretty damn impressive. More of the newer Dreadnoughts that are being constructed were Kilimanjaro class, so you'd see probably around 4 Everest class, and then the rest Kilimanjaro. Now, interestingly enough, after Mass Effect 1, the humans are on the Council. This is actually a big change of events for a lot of reasons. You see, the Treaty of Pharaxon allows it where the Turians can build 5 Dreadnoughts, and every 5 Dreadnoughts they build, the Asari and the Solarians, who are Council races, are allowed 3 ships per 5 the Turians make. This is a bit interesting, because if the Human Alliance existed long enough, they could make quite a bit of Dreadnoughts. They could easily make 25, maybe even 30 Dreadnoughts. And this is, of course, not even counting the carriers, because carriers are not considered dreadnoughts, because they don't have cannons that are dreadnought class. So, humanity actually has a lot more dreadnoughts than we actually know of. But they're not classified as dreadnoughts because they're carriers. It's much like the real-time Washington Accord where we limited certain things, but all it did was just made people build more aircraft carriers because it's not restricted. It's technically not one of the weapons that is restricted. Now, interestingly enough, aircraft carriers, except in space, the space carriers, are considered a strictly human design, as in no other alien species ever thought of having one of these before until they met the Alliance. Now, it doesn't give us specific numbers as to how many carriers the Alliance has, but seeing as how the Alliance is the originator of the idea, they probably have more than everyone else. And it's even more interesting is that they are dreadnought sized, but it's never stated how much firepower they're packing because fighters are usually not that effective in Mass Effect because of Guardian lasers being able to instantly fry them out of the sky. But still, the idea of getting swarmed with thousands of fighters, that's a lot scarier in my opinion than being swarmed by 2 dreadnoughts. But that is a story for another time. This has been Free 700. I am out. See you guys next time. I hope you guys enjoyed and I hope you guys learned a lot about Mass Effect Dreadnoughts, learned a little bit about how they would probably be used in their tactics in warfare. Besides that, comment down below what you would like for your next video to be for me to upload. And as always, just log into the Discord, sign up under our server, and check out the updates. See you guys next time.